In 1587, a group of 115 English settlers arrived at Roanoke Island, located off the coast of what is now North Carolina. They had an ambitious mission: to establish the first permanent English colony in the New World. Among them were men, women, and even children. But just 3 years later, they had all vanished without a trace. There were no bodies, no signs of struggle. Only a single word carved into a tree: Croton. What happened to the so-called Lost Colony? Were they victims of starvation, conflicts with the natives, or something much darker? Get ready to explore one of the greatest mysteries in history: the disappearance of the Roanoke colony. To understand this mystery, we need to go back to the late 16th century. It was a time of exploration and territorial expansion. England was determined to compete with powers like Spain and Portugal, and colonizing newly discovered lands was essential to securing influence in the New World. The Roanoke colony was established in 1587, led by John White, an English cartographer and artist. Located on the island of the same name, in present-day North Carolina, the colony began with around 115 settlers, including women and children. However, they soon faced difficulties. The lack of supplies and growing tensions with local indigenous tribes made survival a constant challenge. When John White returned to England to seek help, he was delayed by conflicts with the Spanish Armada, which prevented him from quickly returning to Roanoke. When he finally made it back in 1590, the colony had vanished without leaving clear traces. The only clue found was the word Croton carved into a tree, suggesting that the colonists might have relocated to a nearby island of the same name. Even so, no definitive evidence ever confirmed what happened. In 1587, explorer John White led a group of 115 people to establish the Roanoke colony. This group was unique because it included entire families: men, women, and children, which was uncommon for expeditions at the time. Everything initially seemed promising, but problems soon arose. Relations with the native tribes were tense, resources were scarce, and the colony struggled to sustain itself. Faced with these challenges, John White decided to return to England to gather supplies and reinforcements, leaving the colonists behind. However, his return was delayed due to the war between England and Spain, which demanded most of the country's naval resources. When White finally returned 3 years later, he found the colony completely deserted, marking the beginning of one of the greatest mysteries in American colonial history. In his search for help, John White had returned to England to obtain supplies. However, an unexpected event, the war between England and Spain, prevented him from returning quickly, as nearly the entire English fleet was mobilized for the conflict. White was only able to return to the colony 3 years later, in 1590. But when he finally arrived in Roanoke, he found something unsettling: the settlement was empty. The colonists had completely vanished. As he explored the site, White found few clues that could explain what had happened. The fortifications had been dismantled, and there were no signs of struggle or mass destruction. The only clue was the word Croton carved into a tree and the letters CRO engraved on another nearby piece of wood. No Maltese cross, a symbol the colonists were supposed to use to indicate danger, was found, leaving White uncertain as to whether the settlers had left voluntarily or under duress. This lack of answers turned the disappearance into one of the greatest mysteries of colonial history. What John White discovered was a strange and puzzling scene. The houses had been carefully dismantled, as if the colonists had planned their departure. There were no signs of violence, haste, or destruction. Only one clue was left behind: the word Croton carved into a tree. Nearby, 3 additional letters, CRO, were engraved on another piece of wood. This detail raised the hypothesis that the settlers might have relocated to Croton Island, located nearby and inhabited by a native tribe that had ambiguous relations with the English. However, White was unable to investigate this possibility further, as an impending storm forced his expedition to leave the area. This limitation deepened the mystery even further, giving rise to theories ranging from peaceful integration with the indigenous people to a devastating attack or even supernatural explanations, such as curses or mysterious abductions. Before leaving, White had agreed with the settlers that if they needed to abandon the island, they should leave a symbol indicating danger. However, he found no such warning signs. This suggested that the departure had been carried out under controlled conditions. But where had they gone? The word Croton pointed to a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, home to a friendly indigenous tribe called the Croatan. Despite this promising clue, White was never able to verify whether the settlers had indeed moved there. Issues such as a lack of supplies and bad weather prevented further expeditions, forcing him to return to England. Later, sporadic reports from explorers and colonists suggested that some survivors might have integrated with the Croatan tribe, adopting their customs and way of life. However, no definitive evidence was ever found, and the connections between the vanished English settlers and the native people remained speculative. Unfortunately, White never managed to investigate the island. A violent storm forced his crew to abandon the area before they could reach the site. As a result, the mystery of the Roanoke colony remained unresolved. The inability to explore Croton Island and other nearby regions left a gap that was never filled. In the years that followed, no significant searches were conducted to locate the missing settlers. England's attention shifted to other colonial ventures, such as the founding of Virginia, and the case of Roanoke was gradually relegated to the shadows of history. This turned the disappearance into an enduring enigma, fueling speculation and theories that continue to fascinate historians and curious minds to this day. Since the disappearance, numerous theories have been proposed to explain what happened to the settlers of Roanoke. Here are the most well-known. Integration with the natives. The most popular theory is that the settlers moved to Croton Island and integrated with the local tribe. Some historical accounts suggest that tribes in the region displayed European physical characteristics, such as light eyes and blonde hair. This could be the result of intermingling between the settlers and the natives. While this hypothesis is plausible, there is no concrete evidence to confirm that it actually happened. Attack by hostile tribes. Another possibility is that the settlers were attacked by hostile indigenous tribes. However, archaeologists have found no signs of struggle or destruction at the site, which weakens this theory. Furthermore, relations with the Croatan, the nearest native people, were considered peaceful. Starvation and death in the forest. Due to a lack of supplies and their isolation, some historians believe that the settlers attempted to migrate inland into the forest in search of resources. They may have succumbed to starvation, disease, or attacks by wild animals. However, once again, there is insufficient evidence to support this theory. Supernatural forces. More extreme theories suggest that the disappearance was caused by supernatural forces. Interestingly, the term Croton has appeared in other mysterious events throughout history. It is said to have been the last word spoken by writer Edgar Allan Poe before his death, and was reportedly found in places connected to unexplained disappearances. While this theory is intriguing, it relies more on speculation than facts. Additionally, some believe the disappearance may be tied to curses or interventions by unknown entities. Folklore accounts suggest that the word Croton possessed mystical powers, serving as either a symbol of protection or a portent of imminent tragedies. These stories, though lacking verification, enhance the allure of the mystery and fuel popular imagination, turning the Roanoke colony into a central figure for tales of horror and unexplained phenomena. Attack by Spanish colonists. Finally, some suggest that Spanish explorers might have attacked the settlers. At the time, the Spanish sought to eliminate the English presence in the New World. However, once again, The lack of evidence makes this theory difficult to substantiate. Although the Spanish were active in the region, particularly in Florida and the Caribbean, historical records do not document any military expedition heading north that could have reached Roanoke. Furthermore, if an attack had occurred, one would expect to find signs of violence or destruction, something that was not observed in the ruins of the colony. Even so, this hypothesis remains part of the debate, given the intense rivalry between Spain and England during the period, and the fact that other English colonies were targets of hostile actions in later years. Conclusion and reflection. Each of these hypotheses raises more questions than answers, and to this day, no definitive explanation has been found. More than 4 centuries have passed since the settlers of Roanoke vanished. Did they truly integrate with native tribes? Or did some terrible event lead to their complete disappearance? What does the word Croton mean, and why was it left behind? The mystery of the lost colony continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and curious minds around the world. But what about you? What's your theory? Share your thoughts in the comments and join this fascinating discussion. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more historical mysteries like this one. See you in the next episode.